we are going to be live at the Grand Hotel of Cape May, New Jersey. And that's going to be on Friday, this coming Friday, June 20th. And I want to see you there 3 to 7 p.m. Okay, so make sure you join us for that this coming Friday, 3 to 7 at the Grand Hotel of Cape May, New Jersey. I heard Dom before. Scott Pressler was on with him, and he'll be at Mulligan's Shore Bar beforehand. So, stop by there and then come over and see us. So it'll be a lot of fun, and we'll have a great time. It'll be fun. We'll definitely have a great day. So where do we stand with everything? Well, there's this divide that's happening right now among people who are saying the United States of America should stay completely out of this, and those that are saying that President Trump has always said it's a priority that he would make sure that Iran never gets a bomb. So today, the White House put out a series of flashbacks of the president saying it is his priority that Iran never gets a bomb. In the meantime, you've got this battle going on inside MAGA between people like Mark Levin and Tucker Carlson, and it's just the whole thing's a freaking mess right now. It really is. It's a freaking mess. But luckily, the Democrat opposition is so terrible that they just have to keep getting arrested for relevancy and recognition. And that's the thing. You heard in the news, this guy in New York who's running for mayor. Nobody heard of the guy until now. Now he's making national news because he got arrested while he was at these ICE deportation hearings. And that's what these guys want. I've been telling you this. This is great PR for them. It's great publicity. They're not going to go to jail. The charges will probably be dropped. Maybe they'll pay a fine. Maybe they'll do community service. Maybe nothing. But either way, they get the grandstand like Alex Padilla, and we'll play that clip for you in just a few minutes, like Alex Padilla on the floor of the Senate just a few moments ago. Grandstanding about how if this can happen to me, this can happen to anyone. Dude, what? You're a United States senator. You're saying this from the U.S. Senate. If that can happen to you, meaning that you can be a senator, then I guess it could happen to anyone because you're not particularly bright, except you are bright enough to use the publicity that this gives you. And now all these other Democrats want to follow in the footsteps of this, like the mayor of Newark, New Jersey, who wishes they'd not dropped the charges against him and wishes he'd got arrested again. Maybe he'd be the Democrat nominee for governor right now. That Democrat congresswoman from New Jersey, who you never heard of, and now, of course, is she's facing charges, and those charges will probably be ultimately, I don't know if a jury's going to find her guilty. It's Newark, New Jersey. I don't know if they will or not, but either way, it's great publicity for her. And it goes with the Democrats' whole talking point that Trump's a tyrant, Trump's a king, blah, 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 da, da, da. Then in the other lane, you have the Democrats who are all vying to not be crazy people. And they want to try to break out and to be centrist. So today, John Fetterman was actually on America's Newsroom with Bill Hemmer. And he said to Bill Hemmer a couple different things, but mainly he said, if you come to this country illegally, you should be deported. Now, that's a big change from where John Fetterman was just 5 minutes ago on the issue when he ran statewide in Pennsylvania. So even though I did not make it on America's Newsroom this morning, I got all the way up there and got bumped. It's okay. It happens. No big deal. But I did make it on last night on Ingram Angle with guest host Kayleigh McEnany, who did a great job. And I said Fetterman is pulling a con job on everybody. Pulling a con job. This guy gets away with it because he wears the shorts and the hoodie. And so he makes everybody believe that he's completely normal and they don't take him very seriously. And then, next thing you know, he's out there telling everybody, "Hey, I'm a centrist. I'm a centrist Democrat," and they believe him because they think he's honest because he wears shorts and hoodie. No, he's not sincere. He's not honest. He's playing you. He's playing everybody. Just like Cuomo's going to play everybody, like Newsom's playing everybody. This is what Democrats are going to do. It is the 1992 Bill Clinton lane, which has now become very, very full of Democrat candidates who want to pretend like they're a new kind of Democrat, a centrist. The question that I was asked last night was, okay, but Rich, what about all the crazies in the base? How do you get around them? How do you deal with them? Well, the way you get around them and you deal with them is the Democrat Party controls the entire process, which is what they do. They don't let the grassroots decide their candidate. You've seen that how many times now? You saw that in 2016 when John Fetterman's endorsed candidate Bernie Sanders lost because they rigged the primary to make sure Hillary Clinton would win. In 2020, when John Fetterman's endorsed candidate of Bernie Sanders was also knocked aside so that Joe Biden could become the Democrat nominee. And then in 2024, not a single Democrat primary voter, think about this now, not one, voted for Kamala Harris to be the Democrat nominee for president of the United States. Vice president, but not president. Not a single Democrat primary voter voted for her to be president of the United States in the primary. So that's what the Democrat Party will do. What they'll do is they'll orchestrate all this and they'll maneuver all this so that whoever can do the best impression of a centrist, then that person will then be the one that the party lines up behind, and then goes and pretends to con job everybody. Fetterman gets away with it because of the shorts and the hoodie, and I'm serious about this. It's the whole goofball act. This guy went to Harvard. He comes from money. He's smart. He's a lot smarter than people give him credit for. But because of the shorts and the hoodie and the goofball slob thing, he gets away with it, whereas Newsom, with the perfectly coiffed hair and the nice clothes, they know he's a slime ball, and they can see this guy coming a mile away. That's the difference. So Fetterman's blue-collar, working-class, blue-collar chops. But tell me how you go from being the guy who backed Bernie Sanders all these times, and also who Bernie Sanders backed for Senate in, let's go back in the way back machine now, all the way back to 2022, when Bernie Sanders was in Pennsylvania campaigning for John Fetterman. I know it's a long time ago, 2022. I know, long time ago. But tell me that that's just, this guy has had such a change? No, he hasn't. He's seen the change in Pennsylvania. That's the difference. He knows that all the working collar people, the working class, blue collar guys and gals out there who work for a living with their hands in places like steel mills, who Fetterman used to court, they all voted for Trump. And they look at the Democrat Party now as a bunch of freaking clowns, because they are freaking clowns, quite frankly. And that's what they think. They think they're clowns. And so for John Fetterman, he knows better. He knows now that he's got to appeal to those people if he wants to survive. It's political survival for him. That's what it is. Political survival. He does not want to be in a position where he loses because voters in Pennsylvania turn around and go, this party's nuts and you're part of this party. So he's doing everything he can to speak out against it, which is why he goes on shows like America's Newsroom today and talks to Bill Hemmer and says, this is crazy. And why he tells Bill Maher that his party's nuts, and why he tells anybody who will listen that the Democrat Party's nuts. Does he really believe that? I mean, sure, probably. But if the Democrat Party was nuts and it was popular, he'd probably be embracing the nuttery. That's what I mean. He's a politician. And like all these guys, there's a reason why AOC is out there warning everybody against the love gov Andrew Cuomo, because she knows it. Andrew Cuomo is going to becomes mayor, he runs for president. She doesn't want him as president because she wants to have somebody who's a true progressive believer in there. And that's somebody like her, or, well, really her. I mean, because at this point now, Bernie's too old. I mean, we were talking last night about the problems that Fetterman's having just in his marriage with his wife, who's now basically completely ghosted him. And I mean, maybe that's an act too. Maybe that's also an act because she wants to be first lady one day. Don't rule out the idea that John Fetterman doesn't want to run for president, because I think he does. I think he absolutely does, and I think he thinks he can win. I think he wants to run for president. I think he thinks he can be president. I think he thinks, why not? He won Pennsylvania statewide. You win PA statewide, you win the White House, at least for now, at least until they redistrict and change the electoral map. And like all politicians who get to that level, they have massive egos and they think they can do anything they want. They think that they can achieve anything. So if you think about it, really, he's just becoming more Trumpian every day. He went from being Bernie Sanders to now trying to be more Donald Trump. He's doing whatever works to win. And he's also smart enough to know that all he has to do is just get the nomination, and then he can then worry about winning people as the centrist Democrat candidate in the general election. Don't get bogged down in the primary, because the Democrat Party elites, the establishment that run that party, they'll take care of the crazies for you. They'll make sure the crazies don't get to choose who the Democrat nominee is. They'll do you that solid. They'll do you that favor. They'll take care of that for you. And that's what Fetterman is banking on. So we'll get some of that audio for you in just a moment. In the meantime, the whole Iran thing and what's going on there, I have some audio for you of President Trump as this MAGA divide continues. And I'm curious, what do you want to see happen in all this? Because he's meeting with his national security team. There's this big divide between people that support him, saying we should have absolutely nothing to do with this, and others who are saying we need to be all in. Regime change. You had Lindsey Graham last night saying that on Sean Hannity's show. We need regime change here. You've got people who are saying that the United States now needs to be fully invested in a war with Israel. Trump is the president's now saying we have complete control over the skies of Iran. So let me know what you think. You can weigh in on the YouTube chat. You can call the show, 855-839-1210. You can tweet me at Rich Zeoli. Here is this is the a reporter asking on the president on Air Force One, what are you looking for here with regards to Iran and Israel? What are you looking for? Cut number one.
Specifically is better than a ceasefire. What are you looking for here?
An end, a real end, not a ceasefire. An end.
So something that would be permanent.
Yeah, or giving up entirely. That's okay too.
Are you close there? Is that possible in the next 24
Why not?
hours?
Certainly possible. Complete give up. That's possible, yeah.
Okay. What about the idea of them having a nuclear weapon? Because Tulsi Gabbard had apparently said, although now Tulsi's saying she did say they were very close to having a nuclear weapon, but the president was asked that question on Air Force One. Cut two.
You've always said that you don't believe Iran should be able to have a nuclear weapon, but how close do you personally think that they were to getting one? Because Tulsi Gabbard testified in March that the intelligence community said Iran wasn't building a nuclear weapon.
I don't care what she said. I think they were very close to having it.
All right. So apparently now, according to a Fox News report, Tulsi Gabbard was left out of a meeting to discuss Israel and Iran at Camp David on Sunday, June 8th. What Jennifer Griffin reported is the following, quote, as we learn more about what the president is thinking about further U.S. involvement to stop Iran's nuclear program, Peter Doocy is reporting that the president's top intelligence chief, Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, was not invited to Camp David on June 8th, where the intelligence and plans were being discussed. She was on National Guard duty at the time, but U.S. officials tell Peter she was never invited in the first place. Here's a flashback of the president saying you cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. You cannot let it happen because bad things will happen. This is from June of 2023. So the White House today put a series of flashbacks on X. And I think they're doing that because there's this criticism coming from people who are supporters of President Trump who are saying, we need to stay out of this. This is not something we need to be getting involved in here. So I think the White House is proactively putting this out and saying to people, hey, we've always been saying this. The president has always been saying this. But yeah, this is getting ugly here. I mean, the White House, a White House official is telling Fox News that strikes on Iran are on the table. So then what happens now is you've got people who are within the MAGA movement. And I'm giving you the analysis of this. So don't read into the nuances or machinations. I'm not trying to speak in any coded language here. I'm just I'm analyzing this for you. There are Trump supporters who are saying, look, there are people out there who are pressuring you to get involved in this war. Don't listen to them. And then you got other people in the MAGA movement who support the president who are saying, you have people out there who are trying to convince you to let Iran have a nuclear weapon by not stopping them have a nuclear weapon. And then in that case, then that's not America first, because if Iran gets a nuclear weapon, Iran's going to blow us up. And so this is where the divide is, and this is where this battle is going on. And if you look at social media, it's freaking ugly. And I looked at a lot of this last night on the drive home from New York, and then again this morning on the drive up to New York, and then the car ride back to New York after I was bumped, because television is so glorious. I know you're very jealous and envious of that life. 3 hours up, 2 hours down for not a hit. And it's okay. It's the name of the game. But I'm just saying, it gave me a lot of time to read. So the White House on their Rapid Response 47X page put out all these various times the president said Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Let's start with cut number 6.
And that was a license for them to make nuclear weapons. And you cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon.
You cannot let it happen because bad things will happen if that happens. But
Bad things will happen, the president said. Then he went on to say here, this is from October of 2023, cut number 7.
don't let Iran have nuclear weapons. That's my only thing I have to tell you today. Don't let them have it. They would have never had them.
Okay, so those are on the campaign trail. Then on the day before the inauguration, no, I'm sorry. This is from January 20th of 2024. So this was still during the campaign. He said, I don't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. We're going to make a great deal and everybody's going to be happy. Cut number 8.
I just didn't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. I said, we're going to make a great deal. Everybody's going to be happy. You're going to be rich as hell again. Everything's going to be great. But you cannot have a nuclear weapon.
And then finally, this one is the president saying the main thing is they can't have it. This is from June of 2024, cut number 9.
The main thing is Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. That was my main thing. The deal was a simple deal. Iran can't have a nuclear, it can't have a missile, can't have a nuclear missile. It cannot have that nuclear capability.
Okay. And then they put out a montage of the president insisting that Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. Again, why is this being done? It's being done because of exactly what I'm telling you. There's the criticism that's out there right now and this big divide. Well, actually, let's back up. Let's back up to what the president said about Tucker Carlson, and then I'll read you what he said about Tucker Carlson on his Truth Social last night. Remember, Tucker Carlson spoke at the Republican National Convention. He and the president were pretty close, but he's been very outspoken, and he was on, or had Steve Bannon on his podcast, or he was on Bannon's podcast. I don't know. One of them was on the other one's podcast. And they were going on about this and saying the president is being dragged into this by the pro-Israel faction, and they're not real MAGA, and that group is now going to hijack the president's presidency and ultimately destroy his presidency by getting us involved here in another Middle Eastern war. This is cut number 5.
They've been talking about this deal for 6 years, right?
6 years.
And he's done what they haven't been able to do. So he's done really a very good job. I don't know what Tucker Carlson is saying. Let him go get a television network and say it so that people listen. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, there's that. So, all right. Now here's the latest. President on Truth Social a few hours ago. We know exactly where the so-called supreme leader is hiding. He is an easy target, but it is safe there. We are not going to take him out, kill, at least not for now. But we don't want missiles shot at civilians or American soldiers. Our patience is wearing thin. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Then he said, we now have total and complete control over the skies of Iran. Iran had good sky trackers and other defensive equipment and plenty of it, but it doesn't compare to American-made, conceived and manufactured stuff. Nobody does it better than the good old USA. And then he went on to say, if I can find this here, let's see. Let's see. There's a lot on Truth Social here. He's taking shots at Macron and others too. But he said the following: America first means many great things, including the fact that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Make America great again. And then this was the one. Somebody please explain to kooky Tucker Carlson that, and in all caps, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Okay? So that's where things stand right now. Here is the montage of the president saying that from the campaign trail, from his presidency, from various different things in press conferences, meetings, and interviews. The White House put this out specifically to say, hey, look, we've always been consistent on this. We are not changing here. We're not pivoting. We're not shifting. This has been our message consistently from day number 1. Cut 10.
And that was a license for them to make nuclear weapons. And you cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. You cannot let it happen because bad things will happen if that happens. Everybody stopped. They were ready to make a deal. We would have made a deal that was great for everybody. No nuclear weapons. You can't give them nuclear weapons. Now they're going to have a nuclear weapon. Don't let Iran have nuclear weapons. That's my only thing I have to tell you today. Don't let them have it. They would have never had them, including Iran. They can't have a nuclear weapon. That's all. They can't have nuclear weapons. It's too destructive, too powerful. They can't have it. But I wanted to make a deal with them. No nuclear weapons. You can't have nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons are the single greatest threat to this world, to the whole world. And Viktor Orban understands that, and some others do too. I just don't want them to have a nuclear weapon. And they weren't going to have one, and they cannot have a nuclear weapon. That was the only thing. The one thing I said, you cannot have. I just didn't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. I said, we're going to make a great deal. Everybody's going to be happy. You're going to be rich as hell again. Everything's going to be great. But you cannot have a nuclear weapon.
All right, let me jump in here for a second here. So, Tucker Carlson has not responded to what President Trump said, although he with Steve Bannon yesterday, when it took shots at a lot of people who, they claim to be MAGA who are not really MAGA. Mark Levin, who hates Tucker Carlson in a big, big way, who has a nickname for him, he tweeted out yesterday the picture of Trump's Truth Social saying that kooky Tucker Carlson, and then he followed that up by saying he calls him Chatsworth Catarlson. And this is what he wrote. This is what Mark Levin wrote. Chatsworth Catarlson was far worse than an ever-Trumper, far worse than a Donald Trump critic. His pure hate for the man as a human being was unhinged, abnormal, poisonous, as you can read yourself below. Those perverse and deeply troubling public impulses appear to have resurfaced. Disagreements with and criticism of any president are fair game. Hard-fought primaries can cause things to be said that people regret, but this below is much different. It seems evidence of something dark and troubling, a real malady, together with his weird, nervous laugh, promotion of anti-Semites, attraction to Putin. There's something way off. And he links to a Slate article where I guess it goes on to the point that Tucker apparently one time was on text messages taking shots at Donald Trump. All right. So as you can see, break out the popcorn, kids, because it's getting very, very ugly and interesting and all these things. And that's just the internal stuff, not counting all the stuff that's happening in the Middle East, which the United States is now making a point of letting Iran know we have these bunker buster bombs. We know where the supreme leader is, and we can drop one of these bunker busters on and kill him and blow him up. And, they're making that point very, very clear and very, very loud. Emmanuel Macron, the French president, has offered up some of his thoughts on this. President Trump was not interested in the least in what President Macron had to say. And given the fact that his wife, bee-slapped him in public, you can kind of sort of understand why. But the president said, let's see if I can find this one for you. Like I said, this is all kind of crazy stuff here that's happening. He said, publicity-seeking President Emmanuel Macron of France mistakenly said that I left the G7 summit in Canada to go back to D.C. to work on a ceasefire between Israel and Iran. Wrong. He has no idea why I'm now on my way to Washington, but it certainly has nothing to do with a ceasefire. Much bigger than that. Whether purposely or not, Emmanuel always gets it wrong. Stay tuned. Then the president put out the following a few moments ago. He said this. If I can find that too. Let's see here. Okay. Sorry, there's just a lot coming at us here. Unconditional surrender in all caps, meaning he wants Iran to unconditionally surrender. That's what he's saying, and that's what he's demanding right now. Unconditional surrender to Iran. So what do you think? What do you think of all this? What do you think of what's going to happen? What's your sense? He said, quote, I have not reached out to Iran for peace talks in any way, shape, or form. This is just more highly fabricated fake news. If they want to talk, they know how to reach me. They should have taken the deal that was on the table, would have saved a lot of lives. All right? So give me your thoughts as we get started today, and strap in, kids, because the IDF is now saying that they killed Iran's most senior military commander. And as we speak, the president is meeting with his national security team And like I said to you, if for any reason he speaks or they take questions or anything like that, we will certainly drop whatever it is we're doing and break in, because God knows that that's what they've been doing at all the big networks. Trust me, I know this. They'll bump anybody they need to go right to this story, which they should. Hey, look, it's the biggest story in the world, obviously. Are we on the precipice of World War III or not? People want to know. Certainly matters a lot more than what I have to say, apparently. Anyway, all right, listen, Tri-County Auto, they're great. And you know what? American made, baby. President is right. American made stuff is fantastic. But in this case, we're talking about cars, great cars from a great local dealership. Tri-County Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram coming this month for employee pricing. Plus, you get employee pricing on your favorite vehicles all month long. Right now, during the Jeep Tops Off sales event, you can lease a 2025 Jeep Compass Limited for only $420 a month for 42 months. Or check out a new 2025 Ram 1500 Bighorn and lease for $459 a month for 42 months. So hurry in. These offers won't last long. Stop into their showroom today or visit them online at tricountycdjr.com to see more. And it's great to drive American, and it's great to support this wonderful local dealership that's right off of Route 422, easy to get to, and great people. Brian Krieger, his wife Cheryl, the whole team over there, excellent, excellent. They're going to take great care of you. Trustworthy people, honest people, and they back our show. They back what we do, and you get to drive American. You know, there's a provision in the One Big Beautiful Bill, which everybody seems to have forgotten about, but that's still being debated on Capitol Hill, that would allow you to deduct the interest on your car loan if you buy a car that's made in America. Well, Tri-County, tricounty.com. These are American-made cars, baby. Tri-County Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. Get employee pricing plus all month long. Go see them today. Good people. They'll take great care of you. These are our kind of people. Tricounty.com.